What is going on, Movie Meals? Movie Meals. Kyle is Thor himself. Either that or he's Tim the Tool Man Taylor.
Ooh, that was a
uh,
good one.
all right, Thor: Love and Thunder finally here. Taika Waititi directed this. Thor. Jane Foster's back. Valkyrie's back. They're all back, baby. So this is a spoiler review. We're gonna get into it. I want to really touch on this movie. So we're gonna do all spoilers here. Kyle and I have not talked about our thoughts. This is actually sometimes we talk a little beforehand of like general thoughts.
Yeah.
We have really not. So I'm curious where this is gonna go. Um, Before we get into it though, thank you Movie Meal patrons, Kimberly and Karen, guys. We started a podcast on Mondays. Got to be a member of the Patreon. It's the $1 club. Please go join that. Please, please, please. If not, at least like, comment, subscribe, and share on this video and our channel today. Spoilers. Final time I'm gonna say it. Spoilers for Thor: Love and Thunder that came out today. Spoilers. All right, Kyle. Just first, what were your overall? We'll get into it, but I want to start. Just what were your overall positives of the movie?
My overall positives of the movie is that I was very impressed by how much more of Thor's story was able to be told here. I was thinking about this a little bit before heading to the movie that we've had a lot of Thor movies, we've seen a lot of the Avengers movies, and it seems like we've seen a lot of good stuff out of his arc. So I was wondering what the next step in his arc was going to be. And while I don't necessarily think this movie delivers on making it the most even path towards what his next objective in his life was going to be, I do think it at least stuck the landing well enough to where I was satisfied with where Thor is taking on his journey next. And since it's a spoiler review, it leads him to taking care of a young girl, Gore's daughter, and
Love.
is able to, he's able to kind of find inner peace and love in
I
the
mean,
right
names are
way that's
love.
gonna work for him. Whose name is Love?
Hers. That's what
Oh,
his
I had no
point at
idea.
the end of the movie, saying this is the story of Thor, uh, of Love and Thunder. That he's Thunder and she is. Yeah, I mean, I
Oh,
assume he actually named
I
her.
thought that was just a metaphor or something. Anyway,
I mean, maybe.
but Chris Hemsworth, he has always been great in the role as Thor, and he still does it again. Like you can just tell when he's working with Taika Waititi, when he's with this character, that he's all on board on what the journey for this character is going to be. And he's just is still as much fun to watch as he was in the Avengers movies, and especially with Thor Ragnarok. He still does a really great job. And I think with the inclusion of Jane Foster, who is played by Natalie Portman, they have the chemistry that returns from what I remember of it in the first Thor movie. I really liked their chemistry in the first Thor movie. The second Thor movie, obviously, it was lesser then, but here it was able to return very well to me, and I think Natalie Portman did do a very good job despite not being in his role for a long time. I thought that the two of them were really paired together, and it brought me back to thinking the same way that I did when they were in the first Thor movie as well. But the major steal for me, who stole the show, was Christian Bale as Gore the God Butcher. I guess that's his name from the comics, but his name, mostly they just call him Gore here, and he just is awesome in this role. I really enjoyed watching his performance here, and I was really happy by the end result of them deciding not to go in the direction of making him look comic book accurate, but letting Christian Bale just be Christian Bale, because he just eats his role up. He does a great job with playing a sinister villain, but also the story just does a really good job at making you understand where he's coming from with his goals. So, but everyone else did well in this movie on top of that. And like I said, I just really enjoyed for the most part where we ended up with Thor, because after a certain while, I just wasn't too sure what more there was to tell for the character, but they found a nice little nugget and end goal for Thor to end up in. So
Were you a fan
that's the main
of?
positives.
Are you a fan of the fat Thor in Endgame? Some people don't like it. Some people do. Were you a fan of that direction?
Yeah, it was fine. I mean, I know that it was kind of played up for laughs, maybe a bit too much, but I just always kind of assumed that it was a coping mechanism for all of the
He's
sadness
just
that has gone
massively
on in his
depressed.
life. And, you know, they say that in this movie as well. They say, like, yeah, he ate a lot of food, he got fat because he was depressed. Like, stands to reason. So, yeah, I was fine with them doing that.
I just rewatched Endgame, and I like it even more how they handled Thor from Ragnarok through Infinity War and Endgame. Um,
Mm,
for Thor: Love and Thunder, I really loved some things, and I really hated some things. Uh,
yeah,
Taika did not do a great job. He really didn't, and I think
yeah.
anybody who defends him uh, is wrong. Your own opinion be crazy. I'm
I
gonna
think I might
start with the
agree with you
negative
there.
because they're all in my head. No, this movie is paced horrendously. And
Mhm.
maybe it's just because it's stuck in my head. But like I've heard people talk about how some of the dialogue in Marvel movies have been really bad. Some of the jokes in this were really bad. I was in a theater with quite a bit of people. The whole row behind me was teenagers who love the Marvel universe. And there were not a lot of big belly laughs, if any at
Mm.
all. There were chuckles. There were some moments, obviously, when Chris Hemsworth's butt showing, everybody gawks, of course. But there was no belly laughs.
Yeah.
This has the Guardians 2 problem. We went back to the greatest steak ever, and the greatest steak ever is not good anymore. It's just, it's just not. And there were so many jokes that anytime they got serious, my brain went, "Where's the joke?" Oh, we don't have one? Now I really like this. Because the best part about the Marvel universe is when they use their humor uh to flow around the story, not make it the story. The humor is just there because that's who these characters are. This was a script very much like Guardians 2 that is written to make sure everyone is a joke. And some of the jokes I found funny and yet hated. I hated with a passion, and I laughed at it in the movie, which doesn't make sense. But I hated that they did the play bit again. I hated it. Think it's hysterical in Thor Ragnarok. I think doing it for 7 to 8 minutes of the same thing is not funny. What would have been funny is just the scene where they show up later and they're like, you know what the people need? They need a play right now. That would have been a much better cameo and way funnier. The Melissa McCarthy, who I really like, awful, 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 awful. It was bad. And what I did really like was Gore the God Butcher. I thought Christian Bale was amazing. Towards the end of the movie, I started to think, I was like, man, is he over the top? Like sometimes I can't tell what he's doing here. And then I started to think, I wonder if he's taking a little Joaquin Phoenix Joker approach, really sinking into the because Christian Bale is just that kind of actor. He just gets into no matter what he's playing. He just really, without being too method, dives into his characters. And I just started to think that maybe he was really getting into what a crazed person, alien would do at the loss of their child. And I really appreciated that. And this movie, we talked about it the other day. Everybody was saying how this movie is under 2 hours by a minute. And that's only if you stay all the way to the final credit scenes. Um, was People were like, this is too short. How are we going to do it? I actually agree. At first, I was like, well, we need to see the movie first. But after seeing the movie, I agree. I would have loved 20 minutes to really sink my teeth into Gore the God Butcher, really watch him completely descend. Uh, because the pacing in the movie is just not good. We're here, and then 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 we're here, and now we're here, and now we're here, and you just keep moving and moving and moving, and that's poor editing. When you notice the editing, it's not good editing. Um, some of the jokes didn't land. I thought the Jane Foster stuff, I had seen some people say that their chemistry was horrendous going in. Like I saw a couple tweets that said it was
Hmm.
really bad. I actually disagree with that. I think they both did a good job for the script they're given. I thought they were written pretty poorly. Um, and the ending though with them, I really liked. I thought that was awesome.
Hmm.
Where they're talking about their love for each other. I was like, okay, thank we're actually developing Thor, the Thor we left off in Endgame, which I just watched a couple weeks ago. The Thor we've left off there is still the same Thor. He's trying to get back to who he is, but he's lost still. And this was finally him at peace. And I really appreciated that. The ending of the movie was the best part. I really enjoyed all the
Yeah,
kids and Heimdall's son getting the powers of God and everything like that. I liked um I didn't love necessarily all the jokes that Zeus got, but I liked Russell Crowe's Zeus. I thought he was at times funny. I liked him in the
I got a
role.
kick
I
out of
didn't
him.
love all the jokes. Um it's funny. He makes an orgy joke a lot. I mean, spoiler review. And all I could think about is, man, The Boys episode 6 is so much better than this joke that they're shoving down my throat right now. Just kept thinking it because it's the
Hmm.
same thing. Uh, but yeah, there were just some things I really loved about the movie. I thought Thor was good. I thought Korg was good. I thought the goats were funny for a little bit at first and then
No.
really bad. And then one
Yeah.
time I chuckled at the end and then I was like, these guys kind of stink. Um it just wasn't great. And now I'm thinking about all these videos and interviews I've seen with Taika where he's like, I'm trolling the fans. They're all like, you're gonna ruin Thor. And I'm like, yes, I am. And it's like, I don't think you ruined Thor, but like, come on, dude. I think you've got more in you as a director than this. We went with a friend of ours, and he has only seen Thor Ragnarok, Thor Love and Thunder now, and then Boy by Taika Waititi. And he said to me when the movie ended, he goes, I don't think, he leaned over and he goes, I don't think Taika Waititi has good pacing because all three of those movies I find to be poorly paced, with Ragnarok being the maybe only
Hmm.
exception, but he even thought at times that wasn't great, that it's way too fast or not enough. I told him he should watch Jojo Rabbit because I think that movie is extremely well paced.
Yeah.
But um and I love Taika. Hollywood is a little bit of what have you done for me lately? I'm a little bit more hesitant for him to do Star Wars. Also, he went up to Natalie Portman and said he wanted her to be in his Star Wars movie. And she responded, I'm already in Star Wars, so I can't. And he was surprised. Why is Taika doing Star Wars if he doesn't know Natalie Portman is in Star? Taika, I don't know what you're doing to me. You trolling me hard? Taika, I hope you're trolling me hard. Anyway, give me some of your thoughts.
Well,
I've rambled on.
I agree with you on the pacing. And I was kind of surprised because I don't really recall having a issue with Taika Waititi's movies when it comes to pacing, but I could feel it here, and I found it really odd. But I do think you described it well. It's a lot of jumping around with this movie, especially in the first half, because you're trying to get a sense of where Thor is at in his mental space in the beginning, but then we also need to cut over to what's going on with Gore, and then we need to cut over to what's going on with Jane and us discovering that she has cancer, on top of learning a bit of backstory about them in a relationship before the relationship ended. And it just yeah, it was just a lot of hopping and time skipping, a little bit more than I really thought would be necessary. I thought there would have been other ways to, work around that type of stuff in order to get to um, a more cohesive movie. But I also was just fairly disappointed because I remember really liking Thor Ragnarok and thinking, while it's in the confines of what MCU looks like aesthetically, it still looked really fun. Like, it still looked like a really great movie. But here, just the aesthetic and the cinematography, I just felt like was a major step down in this movie. Like, there's probably 10-15% of the movie where I'm like, these shots look great. Like, these are really what we're looking at a cinematography level is really good stuff. But
Some of
a
the CGI is
major
bad.
the other percentage of the movie, on top of the CGI being bad, and that's been a trend lately in many of these movies, but um, it just looked rubbery. It looked flat. It just looked like I felt like I was looking at static images at some point rather than like moving pictures. Like, it just felt lifeless to me, and that also didn't help with the jokes that were in this movie. I actually felt like with the jokes, I did notice that it was way leaning into, like, the jokey aspect more than Thor Ragnarok did, and it kind of reminded me of seeing. Taika Waititi do that with What We Do in the Shadows. To me, that's like the movie where he really leans the most into his sense of humor. And it kind of seemed like he tried to do that here with Thor Ragnarok, or sorry, Thor Love and Thunder. And I just don't think it works, especially in the first half. In the second half of the movie, it gets a lot more serious, and I actually liked how it smoothed out and why it made me like the ending as much as I did for Thor's arc, at least so far in the series. But I just was really let down because I do know Taika Waititi is a great director, but it's just a continuing trend with these Marvel movies to me, to where I just don't get a sense of passion necessarily behind them. They just feel like, cogs in a machine now. And I know that's also part of the point. It's a whole industry behind it, but you know, I saw what he could do in Thor Ragnarok with this, and to see him come back and just not feel the same, or just feel like it's a major step down, was just very disappointing for me. So, um, yeah, yeah, that's pretty much my negatives on that.
Yeah, it's just kind of a bummer. It's just not a it's an okay MCU movie. I just put it in my rankings and it ranked in the bottom half. I think some of the
Sure.
new MCU movies have had some nice life to them. I don't necessarily think they're all great, but like I really enjoyed Shang-Chi, but I'm also a huge fan of martial arts movies. So you give me cool fights,
Sure.
hand to hand combat, and I'm here for it. I liked Eternals enough because I thought Eternals was trying to do something really different. And I
Hmm.
really appreciated that. I've really enjoyed all the shows. But and this movie's fine. It's fine. There are things I really like, but man, I'm sitting there thinking, what did they cut out with Gore the God Butcher? Like, what's that 20 extra minutes that could have been tossed into this movie where we would have really gotten to sink our teeth into him as a character? I mean, it's Christian Bale. Like, he's doing an insane performance. We know Chris Hemsworth, Natalie Portman, Tessa Thompson can all deliver these amazing performances, and uh I don't know. It does make me a little nervous for what his Star Wars movie will be. I still have In Faith We Trust. I really liked Boy, love Thor Ragnarok, love Jojo Rabbit. Hunt for the Wilder People is amazing. I really like Taika's directions a lot. He's done some of the best stuff on Mandalorian. So I'm still pretty trendy towards the positive. But if I was at 99%, I've honestly probably sink down to like an 85, if not maybe it's a tad bit lower. Uh,
Okay.
I did really like the after credit scenes. I thought the last one with her going to Valhalla was just sweet. Uh I thought that
Hmm.
was just what is the
Keep
you
going.
think
No.
she should have gone straight to hell, didn't you? You thought Natalie
Abs-
Portman and Jodie Foster. um I really liked that. I thought it was sweet. I thought Loki was going to show up at first, and then it was Heimdall, and I was okay with that. The other after credit scene, at first I was like, is he looking at somebody? I can't tell. Is he? Maybe. Is it Hercules? I don't know. And the rumors were right. I can't remember the actor's name, but the actor on Ted Lasso who plays Roy Kent has been cast as Hercules, and I flippin'
oh, that was a rumor.
yeah.
Oh, I had no idea that was a rumor at all. So that
I
was a
was
surprise to
talking
me.
to my brother about it the other day. No, yeah, somebody leaked a week or two ago that a big name television star was going to be cast in a Marvel role. And then people started dissecting and thinking, and they were looking at like, okay, let's look at like the Emmys, who's been winning, and they all went, oh, him for Roy Kent, like he'd be a great Hercules. And then that kind of picked up steam. I was
Hmm.
actually just talking to my brother about it last weekend when I was visiting him, and him and I both were like, "Yes, yes, please." And I love it. He looked like he beefed up a little bit too, even for just that shot. And I think he'd be a great Hercules. I don't know if that's going to be in a Thor 5 or not, but I really liked it. I'd love to see him and Thor go toe to toe. So I dug it. Unless they're retiring Thor. I mean, it said Thor will return, so and when they ended, people in our theater were like, it's going to be Jane. She literally just entered their version of heaven. What do you mean?
Pay
Also,
attention,
okay,
idiots.
I'm going to bring this up.
Go
You know,
for
I
it.
don't normally do this, and I really don't think this is affected my movie experience. I think it is just a massive nitpick, just if even if I truly believe it. But I do think it's interesting
Go on.
that Thor has Stormbreaker is the key
Yes.
to a portal that Thor knows about, that all the gods know about. He just didn't know it was the key, but all the other gods knew that Stormbreaker was the key, that the Bifrost is the key to opening this gateway to like the god among gods who can grant any wish. And yet you're telling me a couple movies ago they're whining that Tony's dead and Black Widow's dead. Thor knows right where to go to get them wishes granted. He knows where the 7 Dragon Balls are. What are we doing here? Like, I just the I suspend my disbelief. I usually let some things slide, but that did pop into my head just towards the end. I was like, huh,
Yeah.
we kind of have a little plot hole there. There's a lot we could fix about the MCU right now, outside of the actors wanted out. But
Yeah.
I thought it was funny we went that route. But
Yeah.
it's like really we needed Thanos wipes half of life on Earth. I've cut his head off, and Thor's like, wait a minute. There's a whole place of gods who might have some answers, and I've got the key axe to the wishes. We'll just bring everybody back. Instead, we got to go
But
through
then he
time.
but then he got fat and sad.
I'm just saying, like again, that's to
Yeah.
me something that, to be honest, to me, I'm surprised Kevin Feige let that one fly. How do you not sit there and go, because he gets a little nitpicky with that stuff, but that
Yeah, you
truly
think.
was not a huge complaint for me. I don't even really know if it's a complaint, but it is something I thought about.
Might be a
Anyway,
first.
your turn.
After credit scene, to be honest, I thought the Hercules reveal was kind of lame. I know that was the costume looked accurate like in the comics, but I don't know, it just looked funky to me. Something about it just seemed off. It was also like a really quick cut to that actor though in the costume, and then it like goes away
Yeah.
quickly. So I didn't. I was like, "Oh, that's Roy Kent. What just happened? Costume?" And it's just that thing again with these after credit scenes lately. It's like X actor shows up and goes, "Here I am," and then leaves, and it's like, okay, but that doesn't really mean anything to me.
Yeah, but they've
Not
been doing
really.
that
Like it
since
just,
literally the beginning of the Avengers. It
I don't
just
know.
doesn't
I
mean
guess.
anything to you now because all the characters you like the most are gone, huh? They've been doing the
I
same
mean,
thing since the start.
I mean, I guess, but for me, in those previous movies, it always felt like it was a good lead in to what is going to happen next. Whereas here, it just feels like Easter eggs that are just for the sake of shock value or the surprise value of it all.
And you don't think Thanos turning and smiling at the camera is that, or Thanos sticking his hand in the gauntlet saying, I guess I'll do it myself, is doing that? Those aren't those type of teases?
I guess like there is exceptions, but I think for the most part, I always felt like they were good lead-ins into like what the next thing was gonna be. It's just going back to the thing I've been saying of like these after credit scenes, with it not really showing us like what's gonna take place, but also at this point for me, it also doesn't matter. Like I just what I shouldn't really worry about after credit scenes anymore at this point. Like it's just for the sake of getting fans excited, but I just don't feel that anymore.
So it's just because they're directionless, right? Like every after credit scene was always leading to something. It was usually at first it's gathering the team. After gathering the team, it's all right, Thanos or Civil War. Ant-Man still has one of the best after credit scenes where they just slapped a scene from Civil War in
Hmm.
at the end of the movie. It was just awesome when they walk up and they've got Bucky captured. Oh, it's great.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's a good one.
I will say, there were high schoolers behind me, and it did kind of bring me back to the days when we were watching this early in college. And half those
Yeah,
kids, I knew some of them, so I know they're going to college. And they were freaking out at some of those scenes at the end of the movie, and I was like, okay, maybe we're just old.
yeah. I mean, to be honest,
We're
that
not
really
old.
could be it.
You're
Like
old.
my tastes are changing. I'm getting older. Maybe these movies just don't do the same as they once did,
Be
which that's
Batman.
just part of
Use
life.
the shadows correctly. Good lighting.
There were, I don't know, but there was like a few like scenes at night in some of the action sequences where I could not see it, but I think that's my theater being stupid again. So hopefully you had a
um,
better experience though, but I know
theater
I was
experience
clicking
is
a
fine.
lot. Yeah.
Uh, Yeah, so yeah, Thor: Love and Thunder is just okay. Some jokes really work, some jokes really don't. Some things really work, and some things really don't. And that's the bummer of a movie that's inconsistent. Poor pacing, a poor script. And again, I absolutely adore Taika Waititi. I think he is by far one of the best directors today. I am still excited for him to do Star Wars. I'm a slightly more hesitant, and I think I have every right to be because Hollywood's a "What have you done for me lately?" And the last movie I didn't love, and I wanted to
Plus you're
overwhelmingly
passionate,
love it.
so yeah.
uh, well, it's hard too. I mean, I watching those jokes, I'm sitting there going, if this is in Star Wars, it's not gonna be good. Uh,
Yeah,
so,
maybe.
um, but I think he can rein it in and pull it back. I'll just pretend that he just wanted to go on to Star Wars, so he wrote a quick script. They made a fast movie. It's under 2 hours. Move on, move along. We're going to Star Wars, just like they did with all the other directors that then got fired because Kathy's reactionary is all get out. But yeah, Thor: Love and Thunder is fine. It's fine. I kind of
Eh.
want to see it again just to see where I go from here. Sometimes, movies that you just overwhelmingly adore, you want to go see again just to relive that magic. Like, I went to Endgame 4 times within the first week because
Mhm.
every theater was the same. It was just awesome to be in the theater for that. And sometimes when a movie is kind of on the cusp of something you love so much, like the MCU, I tend to want to go again just because uh maybe see it. Did the joke, was it just the mood I'm in that day? Do I like it more, do I like it less?
Yeah,
So
possible.
curious, you
Happens.
got any other thoughts?
No, that's about it. Like this isn't me turning against Taika. I still like him as a director, but I think this one was kind of a misstep. I don't think and I think it's just a pattern that I'm seeing more and more with the MCU nowadays. Or I'm old, but that's my thoughts.
I wouldn't. You said misstep, and I like the analogy, but here's just how my brain thought of it. I think, like, are
Okay,
we taking a step forward with Tyker? Are we taking a step back? And I feel like we just stopped. You know what I mean? Like, we didn't
sure.
really take a step back. I don't think it was that bad where I'm turning on DEFCON, 1 and losing my mind. And we're
Mhm.
taking 3 steps back, but I don't think he
Yeah,
took any steps forward really. I don't really think he developed Thor a whole lot more until the last like 30 minutes, 20
I
minutes,
agree. I agree.
but I still like Taika a lot. He's had one okay movie so far and everything I've seen him do. So,
Mhm.
uh I am curious to see what the narrative's going to be for the next year though with him, because going up to this movie it was, this movie's going to be incredible because everybody in the world loves Taika Waititi. Uh and I
Yeah,
still do.
yeah, it's definitely gotten more interesting. I wouldn't be shocked if people fall in line with what we're thinking. Or let me rephrase that.
No, they're going to go to the extreme.
Fans of films are going to be in the realm, if not the extreme, of what we're thinking. General audiences will probably just think it's enjoyable time, which is good. So
Yeah,
that's
we'll
kind of where
see.
I
I'm
think we'll
curious to
stand.
see what's going on the interwebs, on Twitter and whatnot, and see how people are really feeling. Because I only had seen a couple of quick little things that were non-spoiler of a couple critics, really.
Hmm.
Nothing too deep. So I'm curious to see tonight scrolling what is all going to be on there. But all right, guys,
Yeah,
what
for
do you think
sure.
of Thor: Love and Thunder? Please like, subscribe, comment, and share. Check everything out on the channel. Thank you, Mumio patrons, and as always, thanks for watching, Mom.
See you guys.